Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
The Print Off The Cuff, presented by IIFL Wealth and Asset Management, corporate partner AU Small Finance Bank, in association with global insurance brokers, airline partner SpiceJet, in alliance with Indraprastha Apollo Hospitals.
I'm so happy to start this very unusual episode of Off the Cuff in a most unusual setting. And I'm so happy that maybe you can see me smiling even under this mask. But I will take the mask off, one, because we are outside the theater, and second, because between me and Mr. Ajay Bijli, the big boss of PVR, there is this partition, the flex partition. So wonderful to welcome you to a cinema hall, to a beginning, and soon enough, I hope, as life comes back to normal and as we shed the fear while taking all precautions and care, get vaccinated, double vaccinated, take all precautions, keep the distance, use the mask hai zaruri or do gaz ki duri, as our Prime Minister says, and get life back to normal. And one of the people who will help us and who's hoping that we give him the opportunity to help us get our lives back to normal is Ajay Bijli. Ajay, the young man, you are in a difficult business right now.
But thank you, first of all, for having this interaction with me, and my compliments to all that you're doing. It's been quite a journey, and it's been 18 months since cinemas were shut. They opened briefly in the middle, and nobody can experience this, no matter how many studies you do in Harvard. In no SWOT analysis can this happen, then suddenly your business comes to a standstill. So it's been tough, but I still feel that a lot of people use the word disruption a lot. And as we were discussing earlier, that I think disruption is a very destructive word. And those people who unfortunately lost their lives, their loved ones, those got distracted and disrupted. But I think for a lot of us, with the grace of God, life got interrupted. And so there was an interruption for 18 months, but hopefully we'll come back.
नहीं वो interruption भी रुकावट के लिए खेद है, all of us have watched Doordarshan in old days, but the fact is that this was more than an interruption.
Correct. Very long interruption.
Because this is also disruptive because it has changed lifestyles. And also it's changed economics.
Correct.
So what are the three biggest changes it has made to your life and business?
Yeah. Well, I'll address the business part, I still, not because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, I still believe that human nature is not designed, and all of us are not designed to be incarcerated at home. Because there was no choice and there was lockdowns, we had no choice but to get entertained on the small screen. And I have a very contrarian view. I was quite happy. I didn't bother about the fact that a lot of movies were getting sold to the OTT platforms, Netflixes, Amazons, who are all behemoths. They're big companies. And a lot of producers are also getting the money back. So just imagine a scenario where there was no money getting exchanged. Then the content makers would have had a big problem. So a lot of people watched movies at home. There was no choice. But everybody benefited. The consumers benefited because they were being entertained, and the film industry benefited because they were, basically getting the money back and on the returns that they were getting. But I still believe India is such a big market, and youngsters, 12 to 39 is the age group where people go and watch movies. They are really, really keen to get out. So India, as you know, is full of contradictions. As Amartya Sen also says, whatever is true is also untrue. And so you're right, some people will stay at home.
You can watch our 10 TV channels in the evening and everything that's true is untrue and everything that's untrue is true. It's the same thing. Yeah.
So there are going to be people who'll sit at home and watch and won't go out. It'll take them some time to go out. But then there are kids, and we've got a little bit of, flavor of, ever since we've opened, cinemas are packed. At 50% capacity, but they're packed.
Yeah.
So people had such a pent-up demand to go out and see the movie on the big screen, down south has been quite phenomenal.
I see.
Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada. Because it comes very naturally. So Indians, it comes very naturally to go out and entertain themselves. And it's still at a very low price point compared to other forms of entertainment. Life did get disrupted. A lot of things happened.
So what will change now?
I think there could be some structural changes that may happen. Structural changes is there is something where movies, there were 1,500 films that were coming through the system in India. Maybe that number gets reduced to 1,000 now. because both parties have tasted blood, for lack of a better phrase. The Amazons, the Netflixes, and the Disney Hotstars and the Z Plexes, they've realized that you can get a brand new movie. And even the content makers have decided that why go to the cinema, and some movies can straight away go so that part will happen. But I still believe India is a market of volumes. A lot of movies still come and a lot of people are still there. 1.45 billion tickets got sold before the pandemic. And as I said, 1,500 films came through the system. So I think still there's plenty of content and plenty of people to make the business viable.
But what about the star system? Because what gave you 100 crore openings was the star system.
Yeah.
The stars are all looking punch drunk right now because OTT has produced new stars now. I mean, look at someone like Manoj Bajpayee.
Correct.
I'm so glad that he's found his place under the sun thanks to OTTs.
Fantastic.
Because he can also be so prolific.
Yeah. So as I said, because India is a land of quantity, 10,000 film producers are there who are making a lot of movies. I believe that both will happen. They'll coexist. They always coexisted even earlier. But the economic rationale by releasing the movie on the big screen is very compelling. Still 70% of your revenues still come from the big screen. So a theatrical release quantitatively and qualitatively sets the benchmark. Quantitatively, मतलब 100 crore की picture हो गई. Qualitatively, word of mouth. Is it a good word of mouth or a bad word of mouth? Then the other satellite channels, the OTT platforms, they get to know how much they should pay for the movie. So I think both will happen. There are some stars who will really flourish, like Manoj Bajpayee, so many others who will go to OTT. They'll also have a chance to come on the big screen. They can make movies on the big screen as well. But it's given a lease of life to both things, I would say.
Like among the women, for example, I see this Shreya Dhanvantri, if I get the name right. Again, OTT person. I don't think that people like us who don't watch many movies would have recognized her talent.
Correct. Absolutely.
Or people who are coming in from southern cinema onto OTTs. I don't think we would have discovered them. So, will that be an opportunity for you or a challenge?
As I said, even before they were coexisting, but I think that is good for the industry. It's good for the industry. I think that it's fine because there are other people as well who still want to see themselves on the big screen. So if you look at Suryavanshi, it waited for 24 months. They want to release on the big screen. If you look at a movie called 83, हम दोनों को क्रिकेट का शौक है. That's coming on Christmas. ब्रह्मास्त्र. बहुत पिक्चरें हैं, हिंदी पिक्चरें, इंग्लिश पिक्चरें जो अभी भी बिग स्क्रीन पे आएंगी. मुझे लगता है दोनों चीज़ें हो जाएंगी. Definitely, lease of life has been given to a lot of creative people on the OTT platform. But I think there's plenty of fish in the sea, so to speak, who will still be coming on the big screen.
At least in this sea, there's plenty of fish because they're depleting elsewhere.
Correct.
You are such a cricket nut that I believe आप इंडिया पाकिस्तान मैच देखने भी जा रहे हैं अभी दुबई में. So that's a true cricket nut. So when do you plan to release 83?
83 is Christmas release.
Yeah, so 83 for our sort of post-Google millennials. 1983 is the first time India won the Cricket World Cup. Miracle at Lords.
Correct.
Right? I used to work at India Today magazine. That was our cover headline.
Correct. By the way, I saw all the matches. Huh?
You saw all the matches?
All the matches in England.
In England. Yeah. See, that's a real nut.
Yeah.
So, Ajay, I have a question for you from my colleague YP Rajesh, who's our managing editor.
Hanji.
And he's also making a disclosure. He says, I reported the coming together of Priya and Village Roadshow to launch PVR in 1995.
Right.
Press conference was at the Oberoi, I think, in Delhi.
Okay.
And then he goes on to say, and I have ended up buying PVR shares after the pandemic.
Okay.
So he was still optimistic about your business at a time when a lot of people would have written you off.
Yeah.
So his question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate Netflix and Amazon Prime? 1 is for least and 10 is for maximum.
No, I honestly don't hate that.
And please give a number and you can then explain, justify or be cordial about the rating. But you have to, you can't duck it.
What do I say? 1 is for liking them, right? I think 1. I love both of them. Amazon and
liking
Netflix.
is a scale. No. 1 is for hating them.
Okay, 10. 10 on 10. Then I like them. I think
10 on 10 will be hate them 10 on 10.
No. I like them a lot. I forgot the scale. I'm confused about your scale. All I'm saying is I think they are brilliant. I really find them
But
fantastic.
why do you like them? And do you see them as competition, or do you see them as force multipliers?
I think force multipliers, definitely. No question about it. Because what I said earlier was that money is flowing into the system. It's extremely important that people who are making content get the return for the content that they create. And also, both have coexisted since time immemorial. Just to give some numbers, $42 billion was the box office collections all over the world. The average movie that Hollywood makes is about $100 million is the average movie. Bond waited for 24 months because you cannot recoup your investment if you come straight to OTT. So OTT has its own place in the sun, which is doing TV shows and movies which are meant for OTT platform. And then you have theatrical, which is meant for the big screen and where people want to go out and the cinema filmmakers want the return to be getting. So I think both will coexist. It's not a binary discussion according to me. It's not either or. And I really think that, honestly, I'm not saying it because it's self-fulfilling prophecy and I want to be a Mr. Nice guy and diplomatic. I really think that both have a place in the sun.
Did people tell you that you've now been Bangalored?
Everybody. It was difficult to keep my chin up, but I did, because I actually was fortunate to read Obama's book, where he said life cannot have a one-dimension view. Where अगर business नहीं चल रहा तो सारा कुछ तुम भूल जाओ. Business नहीं चला, but there's other things. There's health. My mother's with me. My kids were with me. I sing. I'm very fond of singing. I'm very fond of fitness. I have friends, well-wishers. दोनों गाता हूँ, हिंदी भी इंग्लिश भी गाता हूँ.
अच्छा, तो कुछ मैं भी कुछ याद कर लूँ, मैं बोलूँगा भी गाने के लिए.
तो मुझे लगा कि I have to count my blessings. And a lot of people said, wrote the business off. I believed in humanity a lot, to be honest with you. I think human beings would prevail, is what my thought was, to find the cure and also desire to come out and watch movies on the big screen.
और भी गम है ज़माने में मोहब्बत के सिवा. But did you ever think that, look, I have to now find a new business, and what will I do with all this tamjam that I've built all over the country?
Yeah, 850 odd screens throughout the country since 31 years. That's all I was doing. My problem is cricket का example देता हूँ. सचिन से सिर्फ आप बैटिंग करा सकते हो. मेरे को seriously कुछ आता ही नहीं है. The only thing I know is how to build cinemas. If I can, little bit in all humility. Leg room, seat width, sound, projection system, screens. That's it. Getting that experiential wow factor. So I was very, challenging and questioning this thing about putting all your eggs in one basket. Doing one thing, but doing it very well. So I think the pandemic made us think. But then I honestly didn't know what else to do. I was just hoping that this revives. And I had this belief in humanity. I had belief in the Indian market.
Yeah, because you were no good at setting up a bank.
No.
Right. So this is all. So that's a question that I get asked also, that, you've started a digital platform. Do you know anything about technology? And I tell them, I know nothing about technology, but I know one thing, and I'll keep doing it. I know how to generate a story.
Right.
How to create a story, how to write a story, how to have a story packaged, how to edit a story. अब कौन सा प्लेटफॉर्म पे कहाँ जाता है, ये कोई आदमी बैठा हुआ कहीं पे सैन फ्रांसिस्को में, सिलिकॉन वैली में या बैंगलोर में, people will figure out and they'll come up with platforms. I'm just not letting myself be. You can't disintermediate journalism.
Correct. That's right.
Platforms will change. So that is how you are looking at. Do you ever think of going into OTTs yourself?
No. Now it's very tough, I find. Because, as I said, they're behemoths. The level playing field change हो गई है बहुत. Disney has invested so much money with Disney Plus. Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Max. Everybody is very, very deeply entrenched. It's no point trying to be a Me Too. There are about 50 odd OTT players in India itself. So it's very difficult. I want to stick to this channel. I think this channel is here to stay. Because people will see the movie on the big screen, then it will go to other platforms.
Now, safety. A lot of people ask, and I have a question also from one of our subscribers, who says, have you put any provisions to check for double vaccination of cinema goers? And if not, do you have separate enclosures for them?
Actually, double vaccination has become a mandatory thing now. So customers, our own people have to be double vaccinated. So most of the state governments that we were interfacing with to allow us to open, they made it mandatory. And secondly, a lot of states have made it mandatory. So we can't really have people now who are not double vaccinated.
Yeah. So you will check outside.
We check outside.
You will check outside. So there is no, it's not as if unvaccinated ones can come, but you have a separate enclosure.
No, because there is actually, you have to wear a mask.
Right.
And plus there is a seat gap. Plus studies are there.
No, that we saw those. That's why that's the reason even when we walked through it, we both had our masks on, because not to break the protocol.
Correct.
Yes.
But just to add one more thing, in the pecking order, I studied the Queensland University report that came, then Johns Hopkins came with a report, where in the pecking order, there are other activities which are much worse in terms of the spread. Here, actually, you're sitting quietly, watching this on the big screen. You're not talking to each other, and you're wearing a mask. So, but in a restaurant, for example, with due respect to all my friends in hospitality, you're sitting at 3 feet distance, you take your mask off and you're talking. So bars, concert halls, restaurants opened much later than cinema halls all over the world. For some reason in India, there was a perception. And plus 9 meters heights, in any case with HEPA filters, are something in the auditoriums where people spend, this is a transitional space. So bulk of the time is spent in the auditoriums, are not considered risky anywhere in the world. But एक वहम बन गया है. और उसको बहुत मुश्किल से
we put HEPA filters in our newsroom also. We're a small organization, short for money all the time, but we still invested in HEPA filters.
Yeah, so actually, but in the pecking order, metros, restaurants, all these opened much later all over the world, and cinemas opened first for the reason that I told you earlier. In India में बाकी सारी चीज़ें पहले खुल गई, मेट्रो खुल गए, बाजार खुल गए, रेस्टोरेंट खुल गए, हर चीज़ खुल गई, और सिनेमा एंड में खुला. कई गवर्नमेंट्स ने पहले खोल दिया. Some state governments got it straight away when we send the reports.
But it's a question of, I think we also respond to what is most visible.
Correct.
Look at Maharashtra government and film production, for example.
Right.
It's taken the longest time for any economic activity to start.
Correct.
Is that a point of concern for you?
Maharashtra was, because we have screens in about 74, 75 cities, and India, 90% of the revenues come from Indian movies. तो Indian movies का जो hub है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है, वो बॉम्बे में होती है. अगर बॉम्बे पिक्चर नहीं रिलीज करेगा, then there's no point having cinemas because nothing comes. South is separate because they have their own 4 languages. So we did suffer.
मुंबई बोलते हैं.
मुंबई.
आपकी पिटाई होगी, मैं तो शायद फिर भी बच जाऊंगा. मुंबई बोलिए.
Sorry, तो मुंबई के अंदर जो है वो खुलना जरूरी था. But you cannot disrespect anybody because he was very cautious, and अभी 22 से उन्होंने हमें खोलने का मौका दे दिया है. अब पिक्चरों की लाइन लग रही है. ना सूर्यवंशी आ रही है, 83 आ रही है, बहुत हिंदी पिक्चरें आ रही हैं, यशराज ने अनाउंस करी हैं, बड़ी पिक्चरें, छोटी पिक्चरें, एंड विच इज़ द रीज़न आई वाज सेइंग इवन छोटी पिक्चरें बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट हैं बिग स्क्रीन के लिए, OTT के लिए ज़रूरी नहीं है. अगर आप देखें, अभी अपने विकी को इंटरव्यू किया है, उरी, वो भी उस वक्त कंसिडर टू बी ए छोटी मूवी बट डिड फिनोमिनली वेल. अंधाधुन, राजी, वो
भी मेरे ख्याल मैंने आपके डायरेक्टर्स कट में देखी थी, आपके सिनेमा हॉल में देखी थी.
तो ऐसी छोटी पिक्चर भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हैं. अंधाधुन, बधाई हो, शुभ मंगलम, सावधान. इनका बजट कम है, आयुष्मान खुराना है, राजकुमार राव है, लेकिन ये बड़े स्टार्स से ज्यादा पिक्चरें कई बार चल पड़ती हैं.
आयुष्मान खुराना बाय द वे जर्नलिज्म ग्रेजुएट है, मेरे स्कूल से ही.
अच्छा.
और वो एक दिन स्क्रीन अवार्ड में खड़े होकर बोला कि आई एम सो ग्लैड कि मुझे अवार्ड मिल रहा है इन द प्रेजेंस ऑफ माय सीनियर फ्रॉम माय डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ जर्नलिज्म. तो मैंने कहा, कमबख्त, सबको याद कराना जरूरी है कि तुम मेरे से 30 साल जूनियर हो. वो और उसकी वाइफ ताहिरा दोनों वहीं से.
अच्छा. But he's done a great job.
Fantastic.
I love his movies.
And also so multi-talented also.
And if you talk to him, like Rajkumar Rao I met recently, he's also waiting for Badhai 2 to come on the big screen.
Right.
So my point is, Amazon and Netflix सब बैठे हैं चेक के साथ, लेकिन उनको भी मालूम है पहले वहाँ चलेगी. एक मोनेटाइजेशन जर्नी होती है कंटेंट की. तो पहले वहाँ, फिर सैटेलाइट.
हमने बधाई देखी है OTT के ऊपर, एंड बधाई एक्चुअली रीबिल्ट मेड द न्यू जनरेशन रीडिस्कवर नीना गुप्ता.
Right.
Such phenomenal
movie.
talent. Yes,
I love that movie.
Yeah, such phenomenal talent. Yes.
Yeah.
So tell me about yourself. I know you are a cricket buff, but what drew you to movies and what drew you to this business? And tell us a little bit about Village Roadshow.
Yeah.
And how, I mean, this name is a strange one, PVR. Now, most people don't even remember where PVR comes from.
Correct.
But just tell us a little bit.
Yeah. So my very short, I don't like talking about myself too much, is कि आपको पता है ये पंजाबी family अमृतसर, and dad ran a trucking company, a transport company called Amritsar Transport Company. So like a Punjabi boy went to modern school Barakhamba and then Hindu college. I was supposed to join dad's business, but trucking में I struggled. From 88 to 90 I struggled. तो डैड ने 78 में सिनेमा, ये जहाँ बैठे हैं, ये खरीदा था इन आर्बिट्रेशन. ही यूज्ड टू आर्बिट्रेट एंड द फाइनल सेटलमेंट वाज द सिनेमा. देन डैड सेड मैं ही ले लेना, लाइक, so he bought it. So then I said, if I can't do anything in the trucking business, can I do something to the cinema?
Mai lalena for non-Punjabis, it means I might as well take it, right?
So then I was very keen to prove to myself to my father that I'm not going to be a failure. So I said, why don't I renovate this cinema and show English movies? उस वक्त सिर्फ चाणक्य और अर्चना चलाते थे. तो उससे मेरी फिर जर्नी शुरू हुई. God was kind और लोगों को बहुत पसंद आया this whole atmosphere. बिकॉज मुझे अभी भी मूवीज़ का इतना शौक नहीं है, एनवायरनमेंट का बहुत शौक है. लेग रूम सीट पे टेक्नोलॉजी मुझे ज़्यादा शौक है. फिर वहाँ से चलते चलते डैड पास्ड अवे 92. आई वाज 25 years old. देन आई हैड टू रन द ट्रकिंग कंपनी एंड आई यूज्ड टू कम हियर इन द नाइट एंड कट टिकट्स विद माई वाइफ. एंड बट द सिनेमा केप्ट डूइंग वेरी वेल. मैकडॉनल्ड्स खुल गया, TGI फ्राइडेज खुल गया, धीरे धीरे ये हब बन गया.
एंड नाउ यू हैव अ डॉटर आल्सो वर्किंग इन द मूवीज.
शी इज इन द मूवीज. देन उसके बाद मुझे फिर हुआ कि मल्टीप्लेक्सेस इंडिया में लाने चाहिए.
सो टेल अस अबाउट हर. व्हाट इज शी डूइंग इन द मूवी?
She is actually, went to USC, Cinematic Arts, and she got the movie bug, and she joined this Ayan Mukherjee,
right,
who made two very good films, Wake Up Sid and
right.
Ye Jawani Hai Diwani. And he got this thing कि मैंने एक बहुत बड़ी movie बनानी है. And she basically is his DA now, director's assistant. And 5 years, the movie, as you know, 2 years तो वैसे ही चलेगा कोविड में,
right,
और 5 साल लग गए हैं. तो अब वो पिक्चर जब रिलीज होगी और her name comes, I think all PVRs for a minute, I'll have the freeze frame clap.
That much fathers have to do for their daughters. Now, there is also a lot of lifestyle change in cinema halls. For example, I know that you piled up more popcorn here than I've eaten in the last 20 years, right? Because all of us watch salt and butter.
Correct.
Salt, butter and carbs, everything. So when you are masked inside, your catering stuff will suffer?
It will suffer, but people then take it off and they eat. Again, same analogy like restaurants, but the governments have been pretty fine with it because talking नहीं हो रही ज़्यादा. तो अगर खा रहे हैं और screen की तरफ देख रहे हैं,
you will serve food
we will
inside.
be serving.
So I'm interested because you mentioned about your father and your family business.
हाँ जी.
I was born in this city some time back. And I do remember from my very early years when we used to live on Rohtak Road, we used to hear about somebody called Bijli Pehlwan, who was a very reputed patron of wrestling and who had a big house somewhere there.
Right.
I believe you are a descendant of the same family.
Correct.
So tell us about your family and how did it come to Delhi?
Well, grandfather was in Amritsar. And he was very much involved in everything that happens in Amritsar, eating, wrestling, everything.
Right.
He started the trucking company.
Eating, feeding, wrestling yourself, but also making others wrestle.
So he got this alias. He was otherwise Lala Saindas Mehra. And then he became Bijli Pehlwan. And 65, because he wanted to expand the trucking company, then he shifted to Delhi. But I was born in 67. And that's it. So transport was our first love, his first love, my dad's first love. I grew up wanting to become a transport company person, logistics, which is still a decent business to get into. But then that's it. And then
But do you have any trucking business left now?
Yeah, trucking business still there. I don't. My Mamaji runs it now.
I see.
And my cousins from Amritsar run it. I still own 90% of it.
Kya
but
baat
I
hai.
only take very little time in that. This is my passion.
So I'll take some questions from our subscribers also. There is
Please.
Manpreet Aluwali of In Money who wants to know what are your future plans for PVR? Would PVR be more cautious in their expansion in terms of more halls going forward?
Yeah, I think we should be careful. But I still believe India is very underscreened. India has only got 5,000 odd screens now. The US has got 40,000. China has got 70,000. So there is still headroom for growth. But we should be careful which city, which catchment area, which mall, how much money we spend. But we'll definitely be very growth driven. We are a listed company. We have to keep growing. And I'm very optimistic about the business still.
Revati Krishnan, who's one of my young colleagues, what is different about the Indian audience and moviegoers overseas?
I think Indian moviegoers enjoy, it's a celebration from them. They see larger than life actors, actresses. The movie format is such that it's very colorful, very vibrant, and it's a celebration for them. And down south, if you go, it's crazy. They all get their garlands and then they go. All over India is colorful, unique, fabulous audiences.
Now, Sahana Rai wants to know, she's from Global Brand Solutions, question that I asked you earlier, but she takes it forward. Pandemic showed that entertainment in traditional format can be disrupted too.
Yeah.
Are you looking at pivoting from your existing business model? Or do you think... Look, let me elaborate.
Haan ji.
In our lifetimes,
Haan ji.
in one generation,
Haan ji.
I think yours too, you are 10 years younger than me, but in yours too, you've seen 45 RPM disrupt 78 RPM.
Haan ji.
Then the cassette disrupt 45 RPM.
Haan ji.
Then the CD disrupt the cassette. And then digital finish everything.
Correct.
Right? In fact, today, if you have a CD player, or if you have a cassette player, you should keep it because it's a collector's item, like my old typewriter, my old Olympia, manual Olympia.
Correct.
I mean, what kind of lifespan do you think does a theater have?
You know, during the pandemic, everybody thought that we'll be dinosaurs. And the example that you've given is the consumption of music. I was talking to somebody who's running HMV stores.
Right.
And HMV stores all over the world, सारे बंद हो गए हैं. वहाँ consumption नहीं हो रही थी. Consumption घर पे होती थी. तुम सिर्फ खरीदने जाते थे. यहाँ क्या हो रहा है कि consumption 2.5-3 घंटे की है.
हमारे कॉलेज के दिनों में, हम तो दिल्ली में नहीं रहते थे तब, छोटे मोटे शहरों में, पंजाब हरियाणा में रहते थे, तो दिल्ली आते थे जब, तो बरकोस मेलोडी हाउस था.
करेक्ट.
है ना, अपना कनॉट प्लेस में.
जनपद पे.
हाँ, कनॉट प्लेस में.
हाँ,
तो वहां पर जहाँ पे बाद में बरकोस चाइनीज रेस्टोरेंट खुल गया.
करेक्ट. हाँ जी.
जहाँ पे सबसे बड़ी चाइनीज हेल्पिंग मिलती थी. जब हम इंडिया टुडे में काम करते थे तो एक चाउमीन में 2 का काम हो जाता था.
करेक्ट.
तो वहां पे सिर्फ हम रिकॉर्ड्स खरीदने के लिए या सीडी खरीदने या कैसेट खरीदने के लिए आते थे.
करेक्ट.
और वो सब बदल गया ना.
नहीं, तो इसकी एनालॉजी रेस्टोरेंट्स की है, इसकी एनालॉजी होटल्स की. इट्स मोर एक्सपीरियंशियल. Like Disney suffered a lot, all the theme parks, but now theme parks are doing better than before. I think human nature, we fit into that category where people want to go out and entertain themselves. And music is you can consume on the go. So music is a very short thing which you can consume on the go. And again, not a self-fulfilling prophecy. Nobody has seen the future. But as an economic rationale and human nature, these two things tell me that this is here to stay. People will want to go out. They'll still want to see the screens their heroes on the big screen, the stories unfold on the big screen. At the same time, in India, there'll be certain people who will not do it. As I said, it's a land of contradictions. But because the quantities are so high in India, both will coexist. I don't see it going away that easily.
In fact, I watched a trailer with you just now, just one trailer, and I felt very nostalgic because just the sounds, the atmosphere. What was the film? Tell me.
Eternals.
Marvel
ki hai.
Yeah, and looked like everybody was coming at me.
So it's more experiential, and watching at home is more utilitarian. आप घर पे बैठे हो, देख रहे हो, home delivery करी, लेकिन रेस्टोरेंट में भी जाएंगे. तो I think दोनों चीजें होंगी, और मुझे लगता है कि people will love to. And little trailer we had, हमने एक movie शंकर रिलीज करी during that the brief period between first lockdown and second lockdown, which did just phenomenally well. Bond has opened to big results everywhere. So I think it's slightly different from music, but we have to make the experience very good. When you came, people clapped. We have stand-up comedians now. I'm taking a leaf out of Disney theme park. How can we bring smiles to people's faces? तो they said, यार मैं बिल्कुल relaxation के लिए आया हूँ यहाँ पर. यहाँ मुझे stress नहीं चाहिए. Picture पसंद आया या ना आए, मुझे मज़ा आना. इट्स प्योर एंटरटेनमेंट. खाना भी एंटरटेनमेंट नहीं है बिकॉज आप अपने वेस्ट लाइन देख रहे हो. शॉपिंग भी एंटरटेनमेंट नहीं है बिकॉज आप देख रहे हो ये खरीदूँ या ना खरीदूँ. ये प्योर एंटरटेनमेंट है, एस्केपिज्म है. तो वो एक्सपीरियंशियल की तरफ ज़्यादा जाना है हमने.
ऐसा ही सवाल पूछा है फैजान करीम ऑफ ZK Films, who wants to know how are you expecting to lure the audiences back to cinema halls post pandemic?
Content is first thing. Because I've got so much support from the film industry, as you see, all the Hollywood movies are coming now. Indian films are all coming.
Yeah, I'm only covering it so I don't get tempted.
Okay, I want you to get tempted. Please, वो तो बहुत जरूरी है. हमारी दाल रोटी है.
I know. अब वो आजकल एक metaphor हो गया है. Get the popcorn.
तो एक तो मूवी से होगा. जितना मैं कर लूँ, ultimately it's a symbiotic relationship. मैं सिनेमा जितने मर्जी बना लूँ, जब तक पिक्चरें नहीं आएंगी तब तो लोग नहीं आएंगे. तो one is that because I've got a support from the film industries, people will come back. That's one. And second, making it experiential. When people come they say, wow, this I can't get at home.
No, but will you do something to incentivize them to come the first time so they get hooked back to it?
As I said, we've opened already in most of the states. Maharashtra is the only one which is not open. People are coming. New movies are coming. People are coming.
Even now, जब मैं किसी को मिलता हूँ, or if I have a restaurant meal with somebody, or if I meet somebody without a mask for some time, I am relieved only after a week passes.
Oh, is it?
कि अभी कुछ हुआ नहीं,
right? हाँ, correct. I think what is playing at the back of our minds is also vaccination drive. अगर इंडिया की vaccination drive ठीक नहीं होती तो हम सारे घबराते. अब अभी मैं बॉम्बे फ्लाइट ली, जब खाना आता है तो सारे मास्क निकाल देते हैं. वो तो बिल्कुल ही साथ बैठा हुआ है.
I know.
पर अब धीरे-धीरे ये वहम जो है,
I know, because initially people were putting themselves in PPEs, and then we realized that was the most useless thing to do.
It'll take time. 2 years people have shocked to the system of everybody. पर धीरे-धीरे जैसे वहम निकलता है, वो निकल जाएगा.
But you are right about making it entertaining and making it amusing for people to come to a place like this, and good that you learn from Disney.
Absolutely.
So I usually avoid my family stories, but I tell you one. When my children were very small, we lived in Washington for some time, and we went to a store. I think there was some festival time, and there was little Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and etc. Donald Duck walking around there, just to keep the children amused.
Correct.
And we went to the toilets at some point. So a daughter went with the mother to ladies' toilet.
Yeah.
Our little son, who was then 2 years old, he went to the men's toilet, and he came out very excited, searching for his sister.
Yeah.
And he says, and his sister said, "Kya ho gaya?" He said, "Didi, andar Mickey Mouse susu kar raha hai." So that's such a wonderful story that endures in our sort of family memory bank.
उसके अंदर भी एक आदमी बैठा होगा.
Exactly. सब वही बन के आते हैं.
Correct.
Right. So, how worried do you find filmmakers? Because they've suffered, they've borrowed money, interests have run up.
Yeah. So as I said, अगर OTT platform नहीं होते, then they would have been more worried.
हाँ.
So when I talk to people like Karan and so many people, in fact Salman has recently sold one more movie to Z. उसका नाम है अंतिम. तो अगर that's why I said कि अगर OTT platform नहीं होते तो इनको और प्रॉब्लम होनी थी. ये कैसे पिक्चर को बेचते. बट अब ये लोग आ गए हैं, उनको कंटेंट चाहिए, अपनी सब्सक्रिप्शन बढ़ानी है, तो उसके लिए फिर बिकॉज मनी इज चेंजिंग हैंड्स. इट्स अ वेरी कॉन्ट्रेरियन व्यू, एंटी लाइक नॉन दिस थिंग अ सिनेमा गाय सेइंग कि अच्छी बात है, बिक रही है.
Contrarian views are not bad sometimes, as I've learned, because this is something I learned from a fellow mayor of yours in Amritsar, a fellow Amritsar mayor of yours. So this was a gentleman called Mr. Mehra. He was big Mr. Mehra. His nickname was Tiny. He was anything but tiny.
Okay.
And he used to own the Ritz Hotel in Amritsar, where all of us, when we covered Operation Blue Star, etc., stayed. In fact, I was the only guest in his hotel during Operation Blue Star. So he started building a second wing of his hotel.
Okay.
So we asked him, Mehra Sahab, are you nuts? Terrorism is going on. Punjab's emptying out. People are getting killed. They are being pulled out of buses and getting killed. There are massacres every day, and you're building one more wing in your hotel. So he said, नहीं, आप लोग नहीं समझोगे क्योंकि आप व्यापारी नहीं हो.
अच्छा.
He said, हर चीज़ की साइकिल चलती है.
हाँ.
कभी स्टील डाउन होता है, फिर स्टील अप हो जाता है. कभी सीमेंट डाउन होता है, सीमेंट अप हो जाता है. And then he told us that it's a bit like when somebody gets a diagnosis of diabetes. So you think it's the end of my life, right? Then you start to get exercise, then you control your food, then you go to medication, then life goes on.
Correct.
So he said, even in Punjab and Amritsar, life will go on, and sure enough, see what happened with Amritsar.
Yeah.
After that.
Absolutely.
So maybe that Amritsari optimism is a good idea.
But आपने जो पहले पूछा था, I must answer that also कि कुछ आप डाइवर्सिफाई करना है नहीं करना. डाइवर्सिफाई का सोच जरूर रहा हूँ मैं, सोचना पड़ेगा. Because as I said, this whole thing about putting all your eggs in one basket, the pandemic has shown us that not always it's a good strategy. You must spread yourself a little bit. What that is going to be, we have a separate team thinking about it. So एक exploration की team बनाई है, innovation की, कि what else can be done. 100 million people came to PVR with the grace of God. And that's something, there's something out there that can be done. They're all movie buffs. What is it that can be done?
Will it be something physical? Will it be something virtual?
I think physical तो बहुत हो गया. With 900 screens and another 1,000 coming up in the next 24, I think physical we don't. Physical के अंदर touch points कम कर ही रहे हैं. जो हमारे नए cinemas खुले हैं, उसमें कोई box office नहीं है. वो सब कुछ तो करे. Digital in physical is happening anyway, but beyond physical it will be digital only. And it could be F&B as well. F&B is very big. Home delivery of F&B. It could be a lot of other things that we can do.
So, Nayan Jyoti Parasara, who's one of our subscribers, what's the way ahead for language cinema? Will this be better for them or worse for them?
I think better.
How?
I think because India, in any case, is a multilingual country, And I was surprised how well Punjabi movies are doing. I don't know if you know.
I know. In fact, I travel through the country. I've seen Jat or Juliet.
Oh my God. So Punjabi movies to
Jat
incredible.
or Juliet, Jat James Bond.
So Daniel Craig can,
Picture
resign as much as he wants to. But so Punjabi regional movies are doing incredibly well. And Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada was strong always. Bengali has come back. Marathi has come back. And Punjab. So I think multilingual country, and it's fantastic.
Punjabi also became some kind of a lingua franca of entertainment in the country, isn't it?
Correct.
Because the beat is so catchy and the metaphor is so catchy.
Correct. So I see very good future for regional films.
What about say Bengali? I know Telugu, Tamil are kings.
Another
right?
level.
They are another level.
Yeah.
But Bengalis, Malayalis.
I think there's room for everything. It's just that Bengali movies are again made for that market, where they have to cut across the entire country. So, but Bengal, the cinema's penetration is still very low. But as the cinema penetration increases in the south, in the east, then I think they will flourish as well.
Okay, so I have Sanjay Vij from HDFC Life. Do you see a tectonic shift as a society going from a cinema hall becomes home watchers? Will it change social behavior of people? Will people see a lot more of their families now that they got used to, or you think they got fed up? They'll get out.
I think fed up. I think people want to get out. They want, as Aristotle said, you draw energy from meeting people. People are social beings, So I think people will come out and they'll love to go out, mingle, have that experience. I don't see a tectonic shift at all.
Yeah, because a lot of the questions are the same. Same, if you ask.
And as I said, it's coexistence.
अभी क्या होगा? In fact,
आपको याद है VHS आई थी, DVD आई थी, color TV आया था, बहुत कुछ हुआ था. Cinema somewhere stood the test of time throughout because it is a very, very normal, natural thing for people to go and watch movies outside.
Now, Gaurav Goenka, you talked about F&B. He's also one of our subscribers. He says, I can understand various reasons why food in multiplexes is expensive.
Right.
My question is, why is it usually unhealthy and does not even taste so good?
Well, we try our best.
Although I must say, we like your kulcha.
Thank you. Thank you for defending me. Well, we try our best to make sure the food is good. But hygienic, of course, there is a mix there and we're working on it. I mean, the popcorn is stable. If I do anything to the popcorn, if I put less butter, less salt, all those things that you talked about, people trash me. So I have to make it as unhealthy as possible.
I know. As a very famous chef said, the more salt you put and the more butter you put, the tastier it gets.
Correct.
And as my former boss, Vivek Goenka, used to say, the deeper you fry your food, the tastier it gets.
Tastier it gets, That's
right. So that's a reality, but you have to work around that.
Correct.
Yeah. Upendra Chug, I think we'll ask a couple of questions. Did you lay off or reduce compensation for your staff during this period?
We had to, unfortunately, we had 15,000 people. We had to lay off 50%. And the ones that were left, we had to have a 50% haircut for them as well. So we had a torrid time for 18
शुक्र है मैं आपके पास नहीं था, मेरा तो हेयर कट का मौका भी नहीं मिलता आपको. So Unnati Sharma, my colleague, I asked one question from her earlier. That was a question on, have you put any provisions which check of double vaccination? She says you had earlier said that the cinema industry needs a rescue package. What do you mean by that?
Well, all over the world, they provided furloughs to the staff, so we don't have to get rid of them. The government paid for it. UK, I spoke to View Cinemas, Odeon Cinemas. They didn't have to lay off anybody because the government took care of that. ECGLS scheme in India came very late in the day. And if it had come earlier, then some of the problems that we had of funding, we were losing about 50 to 60 crores a month. That was our burn rate. And we kept going, but it came very late in the day.
And you're not a company the size of Reliance.
We are not, at all. So I think a lot of 1,500 single screens closed down, which is very sad because they couldn't make their numbers work and business make viable. I think because it's very, very obvious that we were a distressed sector, airlines, hospitality and cinema. So some more, if government support had come.
Did you get a sense from the government that in our system, this is still seen as luxury? Flying, restaurants, eating out, cinema?
Yeah, I think somewhere it came to the realization very late. Initially, they didn't think it was something which was a priority. I don't know whether I should be, politically correct to say that. But
no, that's okay.
It took time for them to understand that yes, we are
I mean,
a staple entertainment.
Just
form of
the
entertainment.
number of jobs it generates
Was-
and jobs at functional levels.
Correct.
In fact, I keep looking. I see these young people working at, say, McDonald's, for example, and there's a global debate about how little that they get paid per hour. But I keep wondering what happened to them all this year and a half. Where have they gone?
Absolutely.
What are they doing?
Absolutely. So some economies by default, Amazon, Swiggy, Zomato's, delivery systems, everything that was towards the home, those generated a lot of employment. But people like us, we had to lay off. Luckily, they got jobs in other places, which is very good. And we were in touch with everybody because I knew cinemas will bounce back. Just now we're running at 50% capacity, but we've already told them the moment the capacity becomes 100%, we will get them all back.
So your people have started coming back.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, your people have started coming back. I hope now customers start coming back.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And you can expect us to be back soon enough.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much, Ajay. And most of all, thank you very much for keeping the entrepreneurial spirit alive. I know that is the Ambarsari in you.
Thank you for having me for this. And thank you for doing such a great job. My
Thank
compliments
you,
to
Ajay. Fantastic.